live so fine. My baby said I was crazy. My mama called me lazy. I was gonna show 'em all this time. 'Cause you know I ain't no fool and I don't need no more schooling. I was born to just walk the line. Living on Tulsa time. Living on Tulsa time. Well, you know I've been through it when I set my watch back to it. Living on Tulsa time. Well, there I was in Hollywood, wishing I was doing good, talking on the but they don't need me in the movies, and nobody sings my songs. Guess I'm just a waste of time. Well, then I got to thinking, man, I'm really sinking, and I really had a flash this time. I had no business leaving, and nobody would be grieving if I went on back to Tulsa time. Living on Tulsa.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, what's going on, truckers? Hey, what's going on? Hey, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This is Ed with Redneckanize Radio. We're coming here. It's live early Monday morning, and we're coming to you a little late because yesterday I decided I was going to watch the Cowboys. I figured, hey, it'd be the only playoff game that they'd probably be in because most of y'all know I'm a big Cowboy fan, but also I'm a realist and I see what I see. And I knew the Cowboys weren't playing that well here toward the end of the season. So yeah, I watched the game hoping they did good, and they were on the brink of coming back. But hey, poor decisions get made, and failure comes. So that's what happens. So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. I watched the Cowboy game, and then I sulked in a corner for a couple of hours and got on Facebook a little bit on my personal deal and just went off on people that were like, oh, they're still my boys, and they got robbed and all that. And I was like, nope, they played a crappy game, and that was just frustrating. So anyway, we're here now for a couple hours here on 7. It's like 7 a.m. on the East Coast, 6 a.m. in the Central Time. I'm down here in South Texas. It's kind of chilly. I hope everybody's staying warm out there. Looks like the East Coast, Southeast got hit pretty hard. You got North Carolina, Georgia, parts of Atlanta. Looks like they got a lot of snow. So I hope everybody's staying safe down there. And looks like there might be some like people. Of course, we know that today's a holiday for like government workers and schools and banks and stuff like that. So uh, a lot of people might be staying home, and a lot of people probably might be staying home because of the bad weather. So truckers out there trying to make deliveries, just be careful and watch out for the crazy people. And then of course, don't be shocked when you go there and the places aren't open, because if the bad weather's there, that means they're probably not going to have people show up, especially in the South. You know what happens in the South? They shut down. They tell people to stay home. Don't even try to drive, because people in Buffalo don't even know how to drive in the snow. What makes you think people in Atlanta do, right? So truck drivers, be careful out there. Bad weather all across. Looks like Missouri got hit pretty hard. Kentucky, of course, Kansas, those areas. So yeah, like I say, be safe driving out there. And what we know is that it's hard to keep the roads clear. We shared a video from some snowplows up in Canada on how it's crazy out there with cars trying to get around the snowplows and stuff. So if Canada has a hard time dealing with it, well, that Tennessee, Missouri, North Carolina, they're going to have problems dealing with it. So all that kind of stuff, that's what happens out there. So we just hope that everybody stays safe. And like I say, if you don't have to get out, don't get out, and let the truckers get where they need to get. And hopefully they can still make their loads and get paid. Because most of the time people out there don't realize when a truck driver can't make his delivery and he's stuck in the weather, he's not making any money. He's not getting paid just to sit there and wait it out. So he's trying to get that load off. He's trying to get the next load. And as long as the roads aren't closed and the roads are passable, the truck drivers are going to be out there moving because that's the only way they make money. So I hope everybody out there understands that. So we're just going to cover a little bit of what's going on in the news in the world today. Like I said, today's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I've found a little on the actual Alabama website. There's some pretty good information about Dr. King on there, and then of course we just got some interviews that had been done for transportation industry. What do you call that old Secretary of Transportation, old Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, everybody likes to call him. He's the one that, of course, we don't even know knows that he's doing a job or anything. But he had an interview, and so there are some little excerpts and quotes that we can talk about that interview. A couple of articles about that, and of course, Canada has a vaccine mandate. So Michigan's getting hit hard with a lot of truck drivers stuck in Michigan because they can't cross the border into Canada because they haven't been vaccinated. So there's an article about that, and we'll dive into that a little bit. And of course, we're getting ready for the truck show. So everybody out there that's looking to get into the Mid America Trucking Show in Louisville, Kentucky, that's March 24th, 25th, 26th. And you can go on truckingshow.com and register. We'll be there, hopefully in our parking lot, like always. And hopefully we got our booth assignment. It's 74108. That's the booth we're going to be in. It's out there in the pavilion area over there by the food court. If you've been to the truck show before, you understand where it's over there, like on the west wing where the food court is, in that area over there. And I know a lot of people know where that's at because that's usually the most occupied area. It's, of course, it's where the food court is, and also that it's like a lobby. It's always open, even when the truck show hasn't opened yet. That's the place you can get to and hang out. And of course, we'll be hanging out there, and hopefully we'll have a lot of things going on. So I hope everybody enjoys that. But again, you can go to truckingshow.com to register. Make sure you pre-register. We'll be talking about that. Check out redneckanize.com, our website. We'll be talking about a lot of things going on, what we got going on, and also keep apprised of like any event changes or anything like that going on. But pre-register, that's the most important thing. And then, of course, stay tuned with redneckanize.com and Redneckanize Radio, and we'll keep everything going on. Please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody doing that for us. And we're just going to truck right along here and have a lot of fun here in the next couple of hours. Is Redneckanize Radio.
It's cornbread and chicken where I come from. A lot of front porch sitting where I come from. Trying to make a living and working hard to get to heaven where I come from. I was heading home on 65 somewhere around Kentucky. And the CB rang, the bobtail rig, it's rolling on like thunder. Well, I answered him and he asked me, aren't you from out in Tulsa? No, but you might have seen me there. Just dropped a load of salsa. Where I come from, it's cornbread and chicken. Where I come from,
We'd like to thank one of our supporters, DPF Regeneration. The folks at DPF Regeneration have always looked out for truckers. Today's technology in big trucks has gotten more and more complicated, especially when it comes to those particulate filters. DPF filters need to be serviced, cleaned, and sometimes replaced, and DPF Regeneration handles it all. They have the knowledge, the network, and the inventory to get what truckers need to stay out on the road making money. Give them a holler at 800-634-3010 or check them out at www.webachem.com. Plain and simple. DPF Regeneration.
Rumors spreading around United Texas town about the shack outside the game. You know what I'm talking about. Just let me know if you wanna go to that whole mile on the range. We got a lot of nice girls.
All right, everybody. Hey, welcome Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio, and we're here live here this morning. Just a special edition. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and interesting things going on today. Of course, we got a bad weather out there this weekend, out there in the East Coast and the Southeast, especially Missouri, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina. A lot of bad roads out there, so truck drivers be careful, and everybody out there just watch out. I think a lot of businesses might be closed today in those areas. I know the government offices will be closed because it's a holiday. So just make sure that if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. And the truck drivers are just trying to get where they got to go. And a lot of times they got to get that stuff off and get the next one because they don't get paid when they're sitting there waiting out a storm. So just remember that and try to be careful doing everything out there. So it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I was just checking out a few cool things about Dr. King, and it says here there's a lot of famous quotes that Dr. King had, and one of them it says, "Let no man pull you low enough to hate him." And then it's not possible to be in favor of justice for some people, or I'm sorry, it's not possible to be in favor of justice for some people and not be in favor of justice for all people. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And like I said, this is celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights activist from the 60s. I remember watching a lot of documentaries when I was growing up and, of course, studying high school and everything. And it's pretty inspirational. Although a lot of people these days, I think they'll try to muff the words of Dr. King to fit whatever agenda they're trying to push. And I don't think that's right. So I think that you try to go and find as much information as you can, and just understand that he was a simple person that that believed what he believed, and yeah, he wasn't perfect. I don't After reading all the history, you find out he wasn't a perfect person. But hey, we don't remember people for everything they did. We remember people for the good things they did. So Um, but anyway, you can call in here 516-387-1733. We're just getting right along here, just knocking some things back and getting some good information out there to all the truck drivers out there that we try to get to. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and we're live. We're recording this and we'll put it out on YouTube later, excerpts and everything. But we're also on our Blog Talk Radio show, Unplugged Radio Network, and you can call in and talk live 516-387-1733 and be part of the conversation. Just hit one. So one of the things that I found interesting on this when I was just checking out trucking news is there was an article on cdllife.com, and it was Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation. His quote was, now get this: "There is no cost to wasting a trucker's time. We've got to fix that." Now I'm assuming he's talking about probably a federal law to pay drivers detention. And of course, there's no other federal law that requires people to get paid for certain things. Um, the only thing I think you can really do is just kind of pass a law to make sure everybody gets paid for working. And, that's a can of worms that probably nobody wants to open up because, if you're making commission, you know, like if you're a salesman and you show up, then they're probably going to make, the government would probably interfere and make people get paid regardless of whether they made commission or not. And of course, a lot of jobs are based off commission, sales, and things like that. Uh, in trucking, we all know, most truck drivers do, most people don't. Trucking, there is an exemption because when they pass the federal minimum wage kind of thing, they set a lot of exemptions up. Of course, we know that there's wait staff and stuff like that, salary and everything like that, where your hourly pay is not based off of how many hours you worked. It's based off of, a salary that you get paid, a minimum or whatever, base, the commission, all that stuff. Well, truck driving, it was always, you were exempt from being paid minimum wage because you were getting paid by the mile and you weren't getting paid by the hour. And of course, getting paid by the mile, getting paid by the hour as a truck driver is always going to be above the national average because truck drivers are in high demand. Truck drivers, they tend to be away from home. They work hard, so the pay is always pretty high, uh, above the national average. But when it comes to certain things, a lot of drivers don't get paid for. Some drivers do, and detention or wait time or anything like that is one of them. Now, my understanding is of course in this article, he's mainly talking about uh like waiting at the dock. Um, Down here further in the article, it was talking about, it says this week. Okay, so this is of course, yeah, okay, here we go. It says this week at an event at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, Buttigieg mentioned that these ports have recently processed 14% more containers than the previous record, which allowed for 99% of the packages from major shippers to arrive at their destinations on time. He went on to say that while this is a good news for large businesses and consumers, truck drivers paid the price for the increase in containers. While the ports were able to process an increased number of containers, the number of cranes used to move the containers remained the same. And drivers were left sitting idle and unpaid for hours as the port worked to use their minimum number of cranes, one for every 50 to 200 trucks, to load the rigs. Says think of going to the port as going to Walmart on Black Friday, but imagine only one cashier for thousands of customers, said one driver in a recent online piece. It says, how much should truckers get paid? Enough to show respect and regard for the fact that they are the very definition of essential workers, Buttigieg said. So what it boils down to is that I don't know exactly how they're going to fix it. I understand what they're trying to talk about. I mean, they're not wrong that um, truck drivers go places and like you say, they tell you to be there at 7, and you're there at 7 and you're still waiting at 9 o'clock to get a door or to be able to assign a trailer or whatever. So there's a lot of wait time involved with working at the ports, like rail yards, a lot of them like that. A lot of times it's the wait time is not necessarily due to the fact that I mean, it's kind of like you get there and there's a line and you're waiting in line, and the waiting in line could be hours. So they haven't like seen that you're there. Like you don't go up and give the lady your information and then she makes you wait. Some places are like that, but most places it's you get there and then you got to wait to even go talk to the person that knows where to get your stuff. So it's all different scenarios like that. And that's why a lot of different things, when they talk about getting paid, the customers say, well, once you check in, then the clock starts. Well, if it takes you an hour and a half to check in, then the clock starts when you check in, not when you arrive. So a lot of companies, they use satellite information, and they use a computer attached to the truck. So a lot of these big companies, what they'll do is the driver will say, I'm here. And then the driver will have like a 30-minute line to say, to check in. And so according to the shipper, the clock doesn't start till 30 minutes after they showed that to have arrived. Well, a lot of shippers, or I mean, a lot of trucking companies, they'll say, we'll go ahead and pay that 30 minutes. We'll pay that difference, and we'll charge the customer the after the fact, like the 30 minutes after. But again, a lot of customers have it worked into a contract with a shipper. Now, the customer shippers, they have it in a contract with the carriers that, you know, we don't pay detention, or we don't pay detention until after 4 hours. We don't pay detention until, it's twos mainly, sometimes one, two is more. A lot of customers will say four, even though the trucking company tells you two, they're probably taking it on the chin when they pay that other two. So the driver's been there 2 hours, then they've been there a third hour. So the driver says, I get paid that 1 hour detention between the second and third hour. Well, the customer doesn't start paying until the fourth hour. So the trucking company is paying the driver out of their own pocket because their policy is they pay after two. They might try to bill the customer, but the customer is probably not going to pay. A lot of these smaller carriers, they can't afford to do that. They can only pay detention if the customer pays detention. A lot of companies that are like in between, they're not necessarily the biggest, but they might be, pretty big. They'll have a policy saying, yeah, we pay after 2 hours, but only if the customer pays. So, it's a lot of if, ands, or buts on that stuff. And drivers, company drivers especially, and owner operators as well, they operate under the authority of other carriers. They're the ones that are probably getting that benefit because they're relying on the carrier to chase after that money, and the carrier promises to pay them. So they're just at the hands of the carrier. Now, for independent guys, they're the ones that are probably eating it up the most because a lot of times they're dealing with a broker, and the broker has to go through the customer to get the detention. A lot of times independents, they go straight to the shipper, and the shipper just flat out tells them, we ain't paying attention, no matter, no matter what. So you see truck drivers out there, they'll talk. We sit there and we talk to truck drivers, especially at the truck show. If you go to the truck show, you'll hear drivers talk. "Oh, I don't take a load unless it's paid attention. It's in the contract. I got to see it in the contract that they paid attention." Especially if you've been around the block a few times, you know which customers delay you and which customers don't, and all that. So let's break it down to the law. What if they passed a law that said that customers had to pay attention after a certain time? Well, what that does is that's great for people that aren't good at negotiating good prices, because what'll happen is they'll factor the detention into the rate, or something will happen where they'll factor or they'll lower the rate because well, we have to pay detention now, so we're not going to pay the rate because part of the rate is in the detention. So if you were making like $6 a mile on a load and the load never did pay attention, you didn't care because you were making $6 an hour, $6 a mile. A lot of times it's made up in the rate. So that might go away if they had a law that required detention to be paid, because then a lot of things will happen. We like the free market system. We like it to where we can negotiate that. If the customer says, the load's only paying $2 a mile, but if you're sitting there more than 15 minutes, then we'll start paying you $60 an hour or whatever. And it's like, well, hey, that's great. You know, it's factored in that way, other than the other way. A lot of guys will say, we don't pay detention, but the load pays 550 a mile, but we don't pay detention. So you might be there 2 or 3 hours, and a lot of times the truck drivers, they'll say, hey, that's not good. I still want some kind of detention or some kind of guarantee, depending on the customers. Like I said, if you got to be, it's all about experience. You've been around the block a few times, which customers get delayed and which don't. And we were talking about it last week. We were talking about grocery warehouses. They're the ones, probably one of the worst ones, because you got to wait on a door, you got to wait for a lumper, or you got to wait for somebody to check in the freight and all that. And there's a lot of delay time. So we're wondering, how does that freight still get hauled? And really what it boils down to is a lot of truck drivers that are like, they're hurting for money, and they take whatever they can get. So they do that grocery warehouse stuff. You see a lot of drivers that make good money doing that, but they also negotiate pretty hard, to provide that. They want the good rate because they know they've been around the block, they've seen it. So those kind of things, uh, I don't like it that they want to make a law or they want to change something. I like it to where the truck drivers or the carriers still have power to negotiate that, and that allows, you know, and of course the problem is when you're in a free market system, the rates can be lowered enough because there's so many people like truck drivers out there. There's so many truck drivers that don't know the value of hauling that freight. They do it so cheap because they just looking for cash. They just want the money. They don't care about paying the bills. They just want the cash. They worry about paying the bills later. And there's so many truck drivers out there doing that the rates get artificially lowered. So right now, when you see rates are really, really high, because there are so many truck drivers that were, like we said, just doing it for the cash, and a lot of those drivers, because of COVID, because of the shutdown, because of the economy really going slow there for like 6 months to a year, those truck drivers are out of business. So when they picked back up, the rates went sky high because there was very few truck drivers out there, and most of them were the ones that knew the business, knew how to do things, and knew how to negotiate to get the right rate. Those are the ones that have survived the big time slowdown, because they're the ones that said, hey, listen, you know, we know what can happen. So we're going to prepare for the worst. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. those are the kind of truck drivers that made it through. And the ones that are calling right now to try to get that freight haul, they're like, hey, it's not cheap. We need it get done, especially now since fuel prices are sky high. So yeah, like I said, I don't think there's going to be a law that can fix it. That, like I said, the Mayor Pete here says that we need to fix that. The truck drivers are getting delayed and all that. There ain't nothing you can do that right off the bat. There's nothing specific you can do to that. You can try to write a law, but I tell you what, it'll be challenged because all the powers that be, the shippers out there that don't want to pay it, they're going to scrape up some lawyers and go after that, and not do it. And again, us truck drivers out here, we know it too. You get a law passed, and that don't mean people got to abide by it, especially when there's nobody chasing after them, making sure they do it. So, if there's no enforcement, who cares? So that kind of thing. But yeah, but that's what he said. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not real sure if it's going to do anything, but you never know. But until then, we'll just be rocking along here, and we'll be getting ready for the truck show. Check it out at redneckanize.com. You see all the details of what we got going on there. We're going to be in booth 74108, and that's going to be over there by the food court in the pavilion over there on the west wing. And if you guys could make sure you go check out DPF Regeneration. That's one of our good sponsors out there. You can check them out at dpfregeneration.com. They're the ones that clean the diesel particulate filters, and you can also get parts like the EGR coolers and SCR units and all even the DEF cleaning stuff and all that. They can take care of that, and they've been with us a while. They're good sponsors. They're good supporters of the trucking community, and they love truckers, and they're old school like that. So we appreciate all their support. So like I said, give them a holler at dpfregeneration.com. Make sure you tell them you appreciate them supporting Redneckanize, because we really do appreciate them. So we're just rocking along here. Just make sure you go subscribe to the YouTube channel, and there you go. We're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's been great for us. We really appreciate everybody's help doing that. And just make sure you check out, like I said, redneckanize.com, and truckingshow.com is where you can get all the information for the Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's coming up in March 24th. And until then, let's just rock it along here. It's Redneckanize Radio.
When the sun comes up on the sleepy little town down around San Antonio, and the folks are rising for another day, round about their home, the people of the town are strange, and the proud of where they came. Where you talking about time to grow?
This week's episode is sponsored by LTR Transportation. Come be part of a great carrier celebrating a new year with new trucks and new growth. Check them out at ltrtransportation.com or give them a call at 720-277-0030. Thank you, LTR, for being a supporter of Redneckanize. Redneckanize, common sense solutions for an uncommon world.
Hey there, y'all. The truckers at Redneckanize want to invite you to check out their live podcast. Redneckanize, all things trucking and then some. Live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Just call 516-387-1733 and join the conversation. When everything goes wrong, you got to Redneckanize.
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh, rolling down the eastern seaboard. I've got my diesel wound up and she's running like never before. There's a speed zone ahead, but alright, I don't see a cop inside. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. I got 10 forward gears and a Georgie overdrive. I'm passing little white lines and my eyes are roving wide. Just past a Jimmy and a white. I've been passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight.
All right, everybody. Hey, what's going on? Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio. We're coming to you live here. This is Monday morning. It's January 17th, 2022. Man, it's already 2 weeks going into the third week of the year, and I think that's what it is, right? I think so. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, so yeah, we're just rocking along here, and we're trying to get as much information out there to truck drivers as possible, especially coming up with a truck show. You know, we're all big about the Mid America Trucking Show in Louisville, Kentucky. That's what we're all about. Uh, you know, we started this radio show, call in, putting it out on the internet. We started this just because of COVID. We normally would just be showing up to truck shows, trying to get out there. We had some sponsors, and we were planning on attending more truck shows. But because of COVID, everything got shut down. So we were trying to figure out a way where we can get our message out there to everybody, and still, attract sponsors and listeners and everybody like that. So, and just make people aware of the truck show that probably never been there. And we come up with this doing a live broadcast, call in on Unplugged Radio Network. We appreciate their support on doing that and letting us be part of it. And of course, we're getting on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and we've been really happy with the YouTube channel. It's growing out great. So if you haven't done already, please go and subscribe to that. We appreciate everybody doing that for us. But right here, we're live here. This is right now what it's about 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central, and we're just rocking along here. We're 516-387-1733 is where you can call in, and we're normally live on Sunday evenings at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. That's our normal deal. But what happened is that I'm a big Cowboy fan. Everybody knows me, and the Cowboys played yesterday afternoon, and I said, you know what, I need to make sure I watch that game. So I wasn't going to be able to get prepared for the normal time. So I said, let's hold off on it. And so I decided to get up this morning and get things going on that. But uh, I said, you know what? Everybody knows me, says, hey, you're a big Cowboy fan, but you don't think the Cowboys are going to do that well. And I said, well, that's why I want to watch the game, because I don't think they're going to be in another playoff game. And I was right, because they sucked. Even though they tried to come back, if anybody watched the game, they know what I'm talking about. You know, the funny thing is Tony Romo, the old Cowboy quarterback, he come in there and he says, "Oh man, this is a hard loss. The Cowboy fans, it's going to take them a while to get over this." And I was like, so mad. I said, "Man, I'm still mad trying to get over your muffed place kicker spot on that field goal you messed up against Seattle back in the day." I mean, it's been one excuse after another. A lot of people, and we commented back and forth with each other over the loss last night and everything. And yeah, it's a disappointment in big games. That's what it is. It's almost like remember how Reggie Jackson was Mr. October, because he always came through. And when they needed him, when the Yankees needed him to play good baseball during the playoffs, he was the guy. He played good, right? He played good baseball. Reggie Jackson did all the time, good baseball when the time was needed. And that's what you see great players doing, is when it's needed. When you need to win the championship, those great players come through. Ain't nobody for the Cowboys come through so far in the last 25 years, you know. Uh and yeah, the America's team, all that stuff like that. Of course, they, because of all the history of the Dallas Cowboys, how they made such great strides in the 60s and 70s. They had a great football player, football coach, extra smart guy in Tom Landry. People don't know he was the valedictorian in the University of Texas, and he was going to be an engineer, but he didn't have any money to go to engineer school. So he was able to play football, and he went up to the New York Giants and played football. And he was so smart, they wanted him to be a coach. He was one of the only in NFL history, a player coach. he was the defensive coordinator and he was a player in the secondary. And during that time, he did great. They wanted him to play all the time. They wanted him to coach all the time. And he's like, no, no. As soon as I get enough money, I'm going to school and become an engineer. And then in 1959, Tex Ram called him and said, I want you to coach the Dallas Cowboys. He goes, who's the Dallas Cowboys? he, he said, well, we're starting a team down here in Dallas next year, which will be 1960. And he said, I want you to coach. I want you to be the head coach. And he's like, well, I don't know about all that. And he said, hey, here's what I'm going to pay you. And he paid him a lot of money. And he said, you know what? That sounds like a good deal. So he started coaching, and the rest is history. And, up until the modern era here, where we've had so many playoff games and a lot of history with like Bill Belichick and, all these other great coaches out there that have won a lot of Super Bowls or been to a lot of Super Bowls, Tom Landry was it. If it wasn't for, Vince Lombardi, the only reason why they named the trophy after him, is because he was winning all the championships at that point. Because and guess who he was beating? He was beating Tom Landry. You know, and the Dallas Cowboys always played the Green Bay Packers in the NFL for the championships before the Super Bowl. Super Bowl didn't start, I think, till '67. And so yeah, the history that the Cowboys built over the years. Friends of mine yesterday, it was the perfect storm of great marketing strategy when Tex Ram, the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, he coined the phrase America's team because he went out and got America's quarterback in the Annapolis graduate Navy star national championship winning Heisman Trophy winning war hero foot quarterback, and he was good. And he coined the phrase America's team, and it stuck. And hey, when you're winning, you can call your team whatever you want, and they were winning. And like I said, up until that point, uh, even after Staubach left and the other quarterbacks took over, Danny White was one of them. They went into the playoffs and they went deep. They went to the championship games, and of course, right there toward what is it, like 1980, they lost, and and then they started trying to rebuild, and of course, it wasn't until like 1988, 89 when they brought in Jimmy Johnson and he started winning again, and it was amazing. Well, then since then, ain't nothing been done, nothing. So Cowboy fans are frustrated. I tell you what, I'm sorry going off on this, but it's what I know. It's what I like talking about. So, but yeah, it's something else, and it was bad. Uh, Anybody saw it. A lot of people thought that the Cowboys got robbed and all that stuff like that, and it's like, no, they just played crappy game. When you make bad decisions, and you can't blame the refs. So that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, it's a bad deal when things like that happen. You got it's just everything that works out against you like that. You had it going on. You were playing great in the beginning. I can't. That's probably why you got that so far up to the seeding, because you were winning games and you were playing good. And then something happened. I don't know what happened. They just started playing bad. They weren't playing as good, and then they were playing teams that weren't that good, and they were winning those games. And everybody's like, "Oh, they're awesome." No, they're just playing crappy teams. So but yeah, uh, I don't know. I'm pulling for the Tennessee Titans. Um, they got a good team. I hope that Derrick Henry comes back and they can run the ball good, and they'll be a lot of fun to watch them do good. Kansas City, Kansas City is one of those teams where I think the Kansas City, San Francisco, even Tampa Bay, there's all these great teams that have great players, and you know what? They probably weren't playing that well toward the end of the season, but guess what? The playoffs, they understand that. The players understand you got to step it up. And when a player doesn't understand that they got to step it up, then they don't play that good because they think it's a regular game, and it's not. It's special, and you got to step up and you got to play better. Everybody's heard my rant about the NFL before. I just want to be entertained. I want good football. I want to have fun watching it. I want to see great things happen. I want to see hitting. I want to see catching. I just want to see amazing things happen. And that's pretty well all it is. I could care less about, your feelings and how you're not getting paid enough or you're not getting thrown the ball. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about your political positions. I don't care. Let's play football. Get out there and play. If not, I can change the channel just like that. Click. It's gone. But anyway, in trucking here, we're just getting ready for the truck show. Everybody knows about that. Like I said, truckingshow.com. We appreciate everybody that's been looking at that and checking into that and everything. And if you have any concerns about it, and you probably need to ask the trucking show, if you go to truckingshow.com, there's places where you can ask for information. And we appreciate everybody's support and letting them know that, if they're asked, hey, how'd you hear about us? Or, how do you know about the truck show? Or how do you know who to call? Or how do you know, all that stuff? And they ask you, what do you think? Bring up Redneckanize and let them know you appreciate Redneckanize giving you the information to contact them. I think it's info@truckingshow.com is an email address where you can get a lot of information about what's going on in the show if you have any special questions. But also, you go on there and you register, you pre-register. It's great to do that. It's free. Sometimes they make you buy a ticket if you don't do that. Sometimes you can get free tickets at the truck stops, like at TAs and Petros. A lot of times they got tickets. So, but pre-register is just easy. That's the best way to do it. You go ahead and do that. It's a piece of cake. Don't even worry about what's going on. But other than that, you got other things that you can do. But anyway, check that out and make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody doing that for us and everything. But other than that, we're just rocking right along here and talking about things like trucking, what life on the road, whatever you got. You can call in at 516-387-1733. Be a part of the conversation. Like I said, go to redneckanize.com for all the information, and just trucking right along here. This is Redneckanize Radio.
Say somebody been shot, somebody's been abused, somebody blew up a building, somebody stole a car, somebody got away, somebody didn't get too far. Yeah, they didn't get too far.
Grandpappy told my pappy back in my day, son, a man had the answer for the wicked that he done. Take all the rope in Texas, find a tall oak tree, round up all of them bad boys, hang 'em high in the street, for all the people to see.
That justice is the one thing you should always find. You gotta saddle up your boys, you gotta draw a hard line.
When the gunsmoke settles, we'll sing a victory tune, and we'll all meet back at the local saloon.
We'll raise up our glasses against evil forces, singing whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
Let me thank Trucker Tools for helping us out and supporting our messages. Trucker Tools is an all-in-one app for truckers and their business. The Trucker Tools app was built from feedback from real drivers and is always being updated to better assist drivers in saving time, running more efficiently, and making more money. Check out their website at truckertools.com. That's Trucker Tools, the app for truckers.
All right, hey everybody. Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio coming at you. We're live here right now. It's early in the morning, Monday morning, January 17th. But we're on here special. We're usually here on Sunday evenings at like 7 o'clock Eastern time, PM into PM. We just had a special deal coming on here because I got caught up watching football yesterday, so we delayed the show a little bit. But we're coming back here. We're going to be here Sunday evening, 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can call in at 516-387-1733. This is Unplugged Radio Network. We appreciate everybody's support on that. And like I said, we're on YouTube Live, and we're also streaming on Facebook Live right now. And we appreciate everybody's support on that. And like I said, we're just talking about life on the road, all things trucking, and then some. You can, like I said, you can go check out our website, redneckanize.com. And don't forget to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're looking at going to the truck show, the Mid America Trucking Show is March 24th to the 26th, and you can register right now for free at truckingshow.com. And we're going to be there. We're going to be at booth 74108, and that's over there in the West Wing Pavilion by the food court. We appreciate everybody coming along and joining the party over there. We're going to be in the parking lot like usual, hopefully. Everything looks like it's going on. We're just scared that, with the COVID here still going on in a lot of other places, you never know what might happen. You just never know. Christmas, a lot of places got canceled Christmas. A lot of things are getting canceled in a lot of different states still. They're even talking about moving the Super Bowl out of California. Of course, they're crazy in California, so really don't know what's going on there. But just you never know. So we got to keep an eye on that. We'll try to do the best we can, get information out to people about that kind of stuff. We're staying tuned in to everything we can do and everything. But until then, don't forget to go check out one of our great sponsors, and that's LTR Transportation, Load to Ride Transportation. You can get them at ltrtransportation.com. They're a great little outfit out of Denver, Colorado. They got special handling, hazmat, expedited, all kind of good stuff like that, refrigerated stuff even too. So I think most of it's all company drivers. So if you're looking for a company to go work for, you can give them a holler over there, ltrtransportation.com, and let them know you appreciate them supporting Redneckanize, because we really do appreciate them. So we're just diving into some news going on. So there was an article in the Detroit News. This looked like January 14th. So that was Friday. And it says Michigan faces acute impact from Canada's refusal to let in unvaccinated U.S. truckers. It says here in Detroit, it says Canada's plan to turn away unvaccinated U.S. truckers at the border starting Saturday could have an acute impact on Michigan, upending the flow of everything from auto parts to building materials to food between two of the world's largest trading partners. And let's see, I just want to trying to just subscribe to their news channel and everything, but we'll share that information over there. There was even another article. It's up here. It says, where was it at? There he goes. And Bloomberg.com even was talking about how the Canada was talking about. Oh, come on, you. There we go. Trudeau, which is the prime minister, I guess what they call him. He plays dangerous game demanding U.S. truckers have shots. His mandate goes against advice from top food supply experts. Only 50% to 60% of U.S. truckers are vaccinated, ATA estimates. It says here, this was also released Friday, and it says Canada plans to start turning away vaccinated U.S. truckers at the border this weekend, a move that threatens to upend the flow of everything, food parts. It says only 50% to 60% of U.S. truckers are vaccinated, according to an estimate from the American Trucking Association. The rules will make thousands of drivers ineligible for cross-border shipments, exacerbating a shortage at a time when the transportation industry is already strained. So manufacturers are warning they may be forced to slow production or will likely face higher costs from the snarling of a supply chain that depends on the open border for the movement of some $45 billion worth of goods every month. Canada is the top export U.S. for 32 U.S. states, according to the Department of Commerce. It says shipping will get disrupted if both directions that the U.S. is the set to impose on its own vaccine mandate on foreign travelers on January 22nd. In Ottawa, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government confirmed Thursday that truck drivers from Canada will be affected as well, forced into quarantine if they try to re-enter their own country and can't show proof of vaccination. It says, I'm sure you've been to a grocery store and seen empty shelves, and it's not going to get any better, said Sylvan, I can't say that, Chabrios, director of the Agri-Food and Analytics Lab in the Dalhousie University, of one of Canada's top experts in the food supply chain. I don't know. Somebody tell me how to pronounce that Canada crap. Says the new rules could cause bigger disruption to cross-border shipments than the outbreak of the virus did in March 2020. At the time, Trudeau's government and the Trump administration agreed to close the land border to non-essential travelers, but trucks were allowed to keep moving. The deal helped quell some of the panic in Canada from consumers who rely on food imported from the U.S. and Mexico, especially in the winter. Says in Weberville, Michigan, about an hour's drive west of Detroit, trucking CEO Brian Hitchcock is preparing to lose revenue. Shipment across the border presents a 40% of business at the MBH Trucking LLC, which regularly hauls of fertilizer, liquids, and other goods, but only 4 of its 10 drivers are vaccinated. So the small businesses get hammered on that, you know. He says, we're going to see people leaving over this. Hitchcock said in an interview, he won't force his drivers to get the shot. How can I, the fourth generation of a family-owned business, mandate something that affects someone's health? America's about choice. We're not allowing that. So, and of course, we even know, if anybody's paid attention, the Supreme Court even said even the big companies can't mandate, the government can't mandate that they require vaccinations to work. You can't do that. It says to avoid further supply disruptions, Dalhousie Universities said that the guy, I can't say his name, said Trudeau government should back down or at least delay the implementation of the border vaccine mandate. Omicron is hitting the entire food industry. That's what's been slowing things down, and the vaccine mandate could add fuel to the fire. So Canada is already 23,000 drivers short of what's needed to meet demand. One of the reasons the uh, the uh, content supply chain has been struggling, said Stephen Lebowski, president of the Canadian Trucking Association. The pain will ultimately be felt by the consumer in the form of higher prices. More than 70% of cross-border trade moves by truck, he said. And it just keeps on going. And of course, they're talking about just supply chain disruptions. They're talking about how the truck driver shortage. Uh, One little quick note, if you didn't realize this, that truck drivers, they say like we're at 80,000 in America, and that right now and according to that, it was 26,000 in Canada. Uh, the job that's hurting the most right now in the U.S. is long-term caregivers, like in nursing homes. According to some companies' estimates, there are 200,000 open jobs that can't be filled. They're short that many people to work that. That's amazing to me. 200,000 uh, like short of what they need to in the nursing homes and long-term care givers. And so you think 80,000 is big? That's not big. You got other places that need other jobs much worse. So this year, I mean, Canada's, firing a bomb really, really. They're just trying to, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably back down. We'll find out today. Maybe there'll be something on the news. I didn't hear anybody talking about it early this morning when I was watching the news a little bit. So we'll find out what's going on with that. And there's not really much to know. I mean, until we see if the borders got really congested, we might see some articles on Facebook today. Drivers out there, if you see anything, you got, of course, with the weather, might not matter. so so that kind of stuff just happens. You never know. Um, but we'll keep an eye on it and see how everything goes with that. But until then, we'll just keep rocking and rolling, and and hope everything stays like it is. So let's keep it on going here. So yeah, let's there we go. So let's keep it on going here. Make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate everybody doing that, and don't forget to go check out our website redneckanize.com. And of course, we got the truck show coming up. Don't forget to go register for the truck show for free at truckingshow.com coming up in March. Uh, and if you need more information with that, you can just pay attention here and watch our YouTube channel, or just call in. We talk about whatever questions you got. People talking about showing up there with art, with something they're trying to push, and something, maybe an invention you're trying to sell, or an idea or getting across, or whatever. Technology you're trying to get updated. You maybe got some questions about some devices you have purchased in the past. There's truck stops there. Maybe you got a problem with your rewards card or something like that. They got people there to handle that too. Maybe you got a bad tire from a shop and you need to express your concerns and you're not feeling anybody's getting across. You can do that too. And you never know. You might meet some great new friends at the truck show that become long life business partners, or just good truckers that you like to run with, or deal with, or just build friendships, build relationships. It's awesome. So don't get to do all that and hanging out with that, and we appreciate everybody doing that. And we're here knocking it out here. Like I said, normally our normal time is Sunday evenings, 7 o'clock Eastern time. You can call in at 516-387-1733. And this is Redneckanize Radio.
He takes all his orders down one at a time. No need a pad, he's got a hold of it in mind. He don't like the young folks hanging around. He's quick to let you know we got a law in this town. You ought to see him then when Ronnie walks through the door. The Marvel Kings are ready for more. Let's all go down to Dumas Walker. Let's all go.
We'd like to send a shout out to all these great supporters. They hung in there with us through the beginning, and we couldn't have done it without them. GTS Enterprises, North Liverpool, Ohio. RM Transport of Chandler, out of Chandler, Arizona. CK Hunter Transportation, out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Peter Ramsey Trucking, out of Mountain Grove, Missouri. Dixon Transportation, out of Sarcoxie, Missouri. Lifetime Nut Covers, out of Crystal Lake, Iowa. Iowa 80 Truck Stop, out of Walcott, Iowa. SoCal Flashlights, out of Los Angeles, California. My Right Load at www.rightload.com. And DPF Regeneration at www.webacom.com. Thank all of you for your support and generosity to Redneckanize.
Used to, justice was served on the road. When evil was done, that was all that she wrote. But somewhere somebody decided that wasn't right.
All right. Hey, what's going on there? Hey, this is Ed with Redneckanize Radio. Hope everybody's having a great time out there. Staying safe. We got some bad weather here. Last couple of days this weekend got hammered. Looks like Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Missouri, place like that. So let's all be safe driving out there and look out for everybody. Today's a holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and of course a lot of schools and banks and government offices will be closed. So if it's bad weather out there, drivers just don't be surprised if a lot of businesses shut down too, because they probably just stay home. Especially in the South down there. So just make sure you're prepared for that. But we won't. We want you to be able to make money still, but you know how it is sometimes that just don't happen. Everybody out there that doesn't really know that much, it's truck drivers when they can't deliver a load and they can't run the roads because the roads got closed, they're not getting paid. They got to run the roads. They got to run miles to get paid. So when they can't pick up the freight, deliver the freight, and when they can't get down the road because the road's closed or the customers won't take them or whatever, they don't make any money. There's several of these company drivers might get paid, but the carrier doesn't make any money. So, sometimes businesses, they flat out go out of business because they can't afford to pay the drivers what they're promising to pay them, because when roads are closed, nobody's making any money. So just watch it out there when you're trying to get down the road. If you don't have to be out in the bad weather, don't get out there in the bad weather. Truck drivers are trying to do it slowly and safely. So, just be careful out there and everything and stay safe. So we're just rocking along here. We just want to make sure we send a shout out to Trucker Tools. That's the app for truckers. You can check them out, truckertools.com, or go download their app at any of the app stores that you get, where you get all your apps from. They do where you can track freight, book freight, and of course they got places where you can find your fuel stops, truck stops, parking, like maintenance facilities, and all that kind of good stuff. So check them out. They're a good supporter of Redneckanize, and we appreciate their support. Check them out at truckertools.com, or like I said, go download the app. Go download the app from the app store, and just tell them what you think. Use the app, find out what you can do with it and what you can't do with it, and let them know. And we appreciate their support. So that's Trucker Tools, the app for truckers. So one last thing we were going to get to this evening, and that was the there was another article, and I was trying to get the details of it here. But the article headline was Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg makes recruiting truck drivers a priority as industry reaches a breaking point. And this was on CBSNews.com. So it says the Department of Transportation is pushing new measures to recruit more truck drivers. According to the American Trucking Association, the U.S. needs another 80,000 truck drivers. About 72% of the goods transported in the U.S. are carried by truckers. But with high turnover rates and dwindling driver supply, the industry has reached a breaking point. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told CBS News' Errol Barnett that he has made recruiting truck drivers, keeping truck drivers on the roads, and making sure shelves are stocked up priorities. That they're top priorities. He's quoted as saying, he says, "I am very concerned about this, and it reflects the fact that as long as we go through phase after phase of this pandemic, we're seeing disruptions in supply," Buttigieg said. Buttigieg spoke to CBS News as his agency announced new efforts to bolster the number of truckers as part of the Biden administration's pledge to fix the supply chain. The Department of Transportation announced Thursday that it will fund over 32 million for states to improve for the commercial driver's license process. I don't know what you can do. I mean, the problem is that it's probably too easy to get a CDL. You know, people out there that don't know, you know, you go take a test, and the test really, I mean, if you know how to drive, basically it's easy. The hard part is knowing you got to do a pre-trip inspection. A lot of people fail the test because they can't do the pre-trip. That you have to point out the different things you're checking and name them. You have to know the names of what you're looking at. And really, if you're in a truck driving school, they just give you a list to memorize, and you just go through it over and over again until you just basically memorize it. And it's just boom, done. Some people just can't do that. There are some states announcing that they were going to forego that process, that as long as you can drive, you don't have to know anything about the truck, just as long as you can drive, that they'll give you a CDL. And that's scary because a lot of the processes that they go through, like used to, big companies would require you to pass a hazmat test or even a doubles and triples test to haul double trailers. And they weren't really hauling that much hazmat, and they weren't really hauling doubles that much. They just knew that it was an extra test to weed out all the idiots. I mean, that was basically the goal. It was like, if you can't pass that test, you shouldn't be driving for us. Well, you don't haul hazmat. Yeah, it don't matter. You need to know it, and you should know it. And if you don't know it, then you don't need to be working. And that's basically what their rule of thought was. A lot of companies eliminated that. They're like, well, we need drivers, so we'll just go ahead and not require them to know hazmat, not require them to have hazmat. We won't haul any hazmat, and we'll just, do it that way. That way we can hire more drivers. And of course, you get more drivers that don't know anything, and you get more drivers that aren't up to learning how to do more things. So, so yeah, I mean, to improve the driver's licensing process, I don't, it doesn't need the improving is making it harder. That's the improving of it. That's the way truck drivers see it. Continues on this article here, says over 100 companies are committing to expand trucking apprenticeship programs and a task force to investigate predatory truck leasing. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You tell me how that's going to go over well when you've got some of the major banks and major trucking companies out there pushing all these lease purchase programs and truck leasing. And you think those politicians and bureaucrats are going to go, "Oh, you can't be doing that"? No, they're not. They're getting paid by those people to say, "Yeah, it's okay." Come on, right? Truck drivers, we got to say no to that crap. Is what we got to say no to. There's a lot of carriers out there. They're big carriers, and they can hire company drivers, but they refuse to. But they won't even bring on like regular owner operators. They only allow owner operators that buy trucks from them. That's all they want. And those, yeah, I could say those need to be outlawed. Like, you cannot lease, you cannot do owner operator only unless you allow to bring in other trucks. Like, you have to allow trucks to be hired. I could see a law doing that where you can't discriminate because somebody won't buy your truck. The big company Prime, they do that. They won't let you bring on one of your own trucks. You gotta buy one of their trucks. That's how they make money, is off of you buying their truck. That's what they require. It says here, Buttigieg says we've got to recruit more people into the job, and we've got to keep them there. Drivers have been fleeing in droves, with yearly turnover hitting 90% in parts of the trucking industry. That 90%, now truck drivers will tell you that 90% turnover rate, which means you got 90% of the drivers that get hired, they quit. Okay, that's that's not people leaving the industry. That's a driver quitting one job going to another. And that rate, that 90%, means they keep quitting jobs. They keep quitting a carrier and go to work for another carrier. That's what happens, because carriers don't know how to hold drivers. They hire them, they bring them in, they show them a lot of bells and whistles, and then, you know, 6 months later, stuff away, or they, you know, the drivers learn that they're not keeping up to what they're saying. They're just doing, whatever they want to do, and it's same old, same old. So drivers leave to go somewhere else. But what drivers need to learn is that all the carriers are basically the same. You just need to find somebody you can put up with, because that's what's going to happen. You're just going to, if you need a job and you want to get paid good, you're either going to have to do what that company says and make good money, or, you know, work it up, or you're going to keep going from company to company. They're all the same. There are really bad ones. When there are bad ones, there are really bad ones. There are, okay ones, and there might be some good ones. But, that perfect job doesn't exist. Okay. It's all that, truck driving is hard. So don't think that there's going to be this easy love. Okay. All these drivers out there you see that have these safety miles and they've been with these companies 20 years, they'll tell you right off the bat, this is not the perfect company to work for. It's the best one that I found. That's what they'll tell you. It says Mickey Weaver's company, let's see, connects trucking applicants with employers. Says not only are there too few job seekers, but he also said once they see how much time in the truck is unpaid, many quit. That's true. Says I seen a guy just this morning. He'd been sitting up for 3 to 4 hours, just sitting there, just waiting to get his truck loaded, and he's not making any money, Weaver said. Says Patrick Penfield, a professor of supply chain practice in Syracuse, New Jersey, or Syracuse University, said he believes better pay structures would fix backlogs. Yeah, but who's paying it? You know, because I mean, the company still got to go to the shipper and say, hey, we got to charge you more money. And as long as there's people out there willing to do it, for cheaper, that's who the shipper's going to call. We just seen this before Christmas. Central Freight Lines out of Waco, Texas, been 100 years since they've been running, and they shut down. They closed, and the reason why was because a lot of their contracts they weren't making enough money. They weren't The revenue that they were getting paid by the customers did not pay the bills, so they went out of business. And the only reason why they were doing that is because if they raised their rates, then the shippers would drop them, and they knew that. So it's a fine line. You gotta watch it. You know, all that kind of stuff. He's continued his quoting. It says, "But until you do that, these poor truckers are kind of at a mercy of these ports and these other destinations where they have to wait." Says Buttigieg says that's one idea that they are studying. Says we need to look at these compensation issues and we really want to solve long-term challenges in trucking in the U.S. Said Buttigieg. Says the administration's new effort includes 2 studies of detention time, which truckers are not being paid but are still on the job because they're only paid by the mile. It pressures them to drive extra long distances to the point of exhaustion. I think there's studies out there already. To say you're going to get a study, that's just government blowing smoke. They ain't going to do nothing. Yep. And that's how the article ended right there. But yeah, it's just stupid. We already know. All you got to do is just, turn on the CB. We know everything, truck drivers, right? We know it all. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, it's crazy. Uh, but hey, we know it's got to happen. So until that happens, what are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? But anywho, we're just gonna leave it be and see what happens, because drug drivers, we get out there and we do the job. We're going to find a carrier or a customer that we do good, that does good for us, and we make good money, and we're just going to leave it at that. All these other people out there that are struggling, hey, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn that lease purchase is crap. You're going to have to learn that a lot of customers don't want to pay, and you need to learn. Of course, there's been studies and businesses run, they can tell you, you got to charge, you got to make money. You got to think about all the bills you got to pay. Every single bill has to be paid. If you can't, if you got to base something on credit, you know, it might get you down the road for a couple of months, but then the bills got to be paid. So you got to think about all that. You know, if it's costing you $2 a mile to run that truck, then you got to get paid at least $3, $4 a mile. Some will tell you, and it's half. You need 50% of the revenue to the truck. You got to pay the bills. So you got to know how much fuel's costing. Fuel's going up. Surcharges, they don't catch up, right? So it's tough out there when things like that happen. You know, and then what's going to happen is fuel's going to start going back down, and then next thing you know, freight's slacking, and you're not getting enough miles. So, yep, uh, we we try to do what we can over here at Redneckanize. We got a lot of people that follow us, and a lot of people that teach us things and talk about things going on out there. We got some YouTube videos about that kind of stuff. We got YouTube videos for all you four-wheelers out there on how to handle yourselves around big trucks and everything. And of course, we always get to the truck show to try to build that camaraderie of brotherhood in the trucking industry. And we hope that everybody continues to support us in that. And like I said, we're going to be there. We're going to have a booth in the truck show this year for the first time. It's 74108. It's going to be the booth number. And we're going to be over there in the West Wing Pavilion over there by the food court. So we hope everybody can come check out and say hi to that. We're usually in the parking lot. That's where we're usually at. And we're hoping that that's going to still go, COVID going on. You just never know. So we're still struggling on all that stuff. So keep up checking out on that. You can go to the truckingshow.com website. That's the Mid-America Truck Show website is truckingshow.com. And you can pre-register for that. It's free. If you don't register, then they might make you buy a ticket and all that stuff. And you don't want to do that. So kind of, watch out what you're going on there. But other than that, it's things that, you just gotta watch out for. And until then, we're just gonna be trucking right along here. This is one of the good platforms that you can come on and talk about trucking and talk about what's ever on your mind in the industry. And we'll let you voice your opinion on this show. You can call in. We're here normally it's Sunday evening, 7:00 Eastern time, 516-387-1733. You can call in, you can listen, you can talk, whatever you need. We also are on Facebook Live, and we're streaming on YouTube Live, and we're trying to get the word out to everybody to come out and join us here at the truck show is our main deal. Or just, every week here at the Unplugged Radio Network, the Redneckanize radio show is just going right along. And we just talk about things going on in the world and trucking industry, whatever floats your boat. And, sometimes I'll get on a rant. Sometimes I'll let Greg or Robbie, one of our other founders of Redneckanize, get on here and talk to. And it's a lot of fun, knocking back and forth. So you never know. And you never know who might be calling in. But until then, next time, we're going to be looking for it next week, Sunday, 7:00 Eastern time. And like I said, go to redneckanize.com for any kind of details. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, things like that. Like I said, we're Facebook Live right now. We do that also. And, of course, YouTube. Don't forget to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate everybody doing that for us and everything. But yeah, that's us. So until next week, we appreciate everybody joining in and appreciate everybody listening along. And don't forget, like I said, go subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out, redneckanize.com. And everybody stay safe, stay successful, and we'll see you out there on the road. All right, keep between the ditches now.